Lucia saw that the road was much closer than she thought. Can the car come over and get us? Yes. Then why don't we take a ride home? Lucia asked, puzzled. If they were in a car, she wouldn't need to walk in pain. The roads in the mountains were winding and difficult to walk on. After Lucia finished her question, she saw Dalen's smiling eyes. Lucia thought of something and asked, You wanted to ride in the car from the beginning, didn't you? Dalen shrugged. It's a good walk. Lucia pouted. Dalen was planning to take a taxi at the beginning, but he must have seen her heading towards the mountain trail, so he gave up on taking the car. Lucia's expression slightly changed, and her heart throbbed with emotion. They stayed at the top of the mountain for over half an hour before they prepared to descend. Lucia saw some of the other tourists getting into cars. She sighed in her heart. There were several ways to go up the mountain, so why did they use their feet? Lucia also wanted to ask herself why. When they got in the car, Lucia's face turned red, but she simply kept her mouth shut and didn't say anything else. Lucia steadied herself as they drove off. The car was much smaller than usual because of the narrow road, and Dalen and Lucia sat pressed against each other. Lucia felt danger. What is it? I'm fine. My foot is still injured. She purposely spoke of the blisters as if they were very serious. Dalen was very careful, as if he was dealing with a serious wound. I won't touch your feet, Dalen said. Lucia was furious and her body stiffened. However, Lucia's expression changed when she thought of Victoria, who had lived in the mansion. She asked, If you're here with me, won't you miss Victoria? First, why would you think that? Second, she's never been in my bed. Dalen stared at Lucia with his dark eyes. Lucia was stunned. Haven't you two been? Nope. Lucia met Dalen's gaze. It was serene and calm like a mountain pond. She couldn't believe it. He had let Victoria live in the mansion, so why hadn't Victoria entered Dalen's room? Lucia raised her doubtful eyes and looked at Dalen. It's because Victoria's health is not good, right? Dalen's expression changed. The edge of his face was tight and cold. His eyes were as sharp as knives as he stared at her. If it weren't for the fact that Lucia was already sitting down, she would have been so scared that her knees would collapse. Do you need me to shout in order for you to listen to me? Dalen asked. Lucia pursed her lips and put some distance between them. Why was he being so fierce? Did she ask something wrong? Lucia said carefully, If you get mad, then it means you are guilty. Dalen didn't say anything in response. That's what I said. Did you let Victoria stay in the mansion? Did you? I know that I'm right. Although Lucia's words made a lot of sense, she still had a hard time saying them. After all, Dalen's expression right now was very dark and scary. What are you saying? Dalen roared. Lucia was furious and stared at Dalen in disbelief. Lucia immediately pursed her lips and silently protested. I promise you, there's nothing between me and Victoria, Dalen said after he calmed down a bit. Lucia's face turned red. Lucia was terrified of being alone with Dalen while he was talking this way. At that moment, Spencer turned around from the front seat. Dalen's black eyes turned dark, and he became very alert, especially since Spencer didn't say anything. Dalen looked at Lucia and pressed her head down. What is it? He asked Spencer. Mr. Patrick, there are 2 cars following us. They came down from the mountains, but we can't tell if they are carrying firearms or not. Spencer forced his voice to be calm. Throw them off our trail. Dalen spat out these words with a cold look in his eyes. Spencer knew what to do. Dalen acted like nothing had happened. What? You're not satisfied? What is going on? Lucia glared. Nothing. Dalen's eyes were filled with luster. Lucia was so shocked by Dalen's shamelessness that her heart trembled. How could he say such words? While Lucia was lost in her thoughts, Dalen pulled her over closer to him. Lucia was stunned. She moved a little uncomfortably and tried to shift away. In the end, she could only give up. Anyway, it was quite comfortable. Lucia could only reluctantly accept it. Sleep. Dalen's low voice came from above her head. Shouldn't we be arriving soon? Lucia said. She didn't know what was going on outside the car. She thought it was a normal ride back to the hotel. I'll wake you when we get there, Dalen said, stroking her hair. Oh. Lucia's long eyelashes trembled as she yawned loudly. She was feeling sleepy, but she didn't fall asleep immediately. Her thoughts drifted a little, and after a moment she said, Dalen. Lucia pressed her face against Dalen's chest and asked, About the child. Don't be angry with your mother. She only cares about you, and I'm not important enough for you two to fight over. You're not mad at her, are you? It was as if hearing Dalen's powerful heartbeat gave her the courage to say this. Aren't you sad about the baby? Dalen slightly withdrew his gaze and looked at the top of Lucia's jet black hair. Originally, I was sad and angry, she began. And then? Lucia went silent. Only after a long time did she finally think of the words that came from the bottom of her heart. You're here. Dalen had come to find her. He hadn't wanted her to spend the new year alone. Dalen didn't know how shocked she was when she saw him in the small town. Only 2 words remained. You're here. Because you're here, I'm not angry, and I'm not sad. Dalen didn't say a word. He just hugged her tighter and pressed his lips against the top of Lucia's head. Just then, there was a loud bang and the car jerked to the side. The car had been hit. The driver in front suddenly turned the steering wheel, trying his best to avoid a deadly collision with the car outside. What's wrong? Lucia was shocked. Raising her head and turning around, she saw that there was a car pushing against theirs. It's fine. Dalen grabbed Lucia as if to protect her. After Dalen said that, a gunshot sounded out from outside the car. It was like a hail of bullets. Lucia was so shocked that she ducked into Dalen's arms. Then she saw a bullet bounce off the window. Lucia was stunned. The car is bulletproof? The bodyguards in the car behind them shot fiercely at the opponent. One of the drivers was shot in the head, and he died on the spot. The car went out of control, and the front part of the car crashed into a fence. The fence broke and the car fell off the cliff. There was still another car, though. Even though Dalen's car was bulletproof, it didn't mean that the other person's car was bulletproof. After the car was hit, the other driver too lost control. No matter how hard the driver tried to turn the wheel, it was useless. He slammed into the foot of the mountain. However, that group of people did not seem ready to give up. 2 cars were destroyed, but 2 more followed. One of the bodyguards in the car behind them got hit by a bullet. He rolled over and hit Dalen's black car in front of him. The entire car shook. Dalen's face was gloomy. Spencer's expression turned serious. Mr. Patrick, I'm afraid that the other party is hostile. They are even giving up their lives. It was clear that they were prepared to complete the mission at any cost. Dalen, are those people targeting you? Lucia asked. Yes. At this moment, Dalen did not hide it from her. Lucia couldn't see how bad the situation was, and she knew that they were being pursued. When the bullets hit the car, the sound was more terrifying than anything that Lucia had ever heard in her entire life. How many cars? Dalen asked. 2 have already been destroyed, but another 2 appeared. I wonder how many more there are, Spencer said. These people had clearly come prepared. Dalen's expression was cold. Dalen, put me down first, Lucia said. She didn't want to affect Dalen's ability to fight back. Don't move. Dalen's arm was wrapped around her waist, as if letting her go was an impossible feat. It's not like the bullets will come in, Lucia argued. Dalen ignored her and looked outside the car window with his sharp black eyes. Lucia frowned slightly. How could he be so tyrannical at a time like this? The current situation was looking bad. The number of people they were facing was definitely more than theirs. Furthermore, this was a foreign environment that was far away from the city. Even Dalen's men couldn't make it out of this fight. Spencer lowered the car window a crack and took out his gun. He shot at the tires of the car that was following closely behind the bodyguard car. His aim was perfect. Lucia was shocked. There was a gun in the car? Lucia couldn't help but ask Dalen, "Do you have a gun with you?" Dalen looked into her eyes. Yes. Really? I've never seen it, she said. Yes, you have. Lucia was stunned. Her brain searched for when she had seen Dalen's gun. Are you afraid? Dalen asked. Lucia paused before saying, No, I'm not that timid. Just then, a car hit theirs, and Lucia was so frightened by the collision that she immediately pulled back her head. Dalen hugged her tightly, but his face was frighteningly black. Spencer said, Mr. Patrick, the other side has increased in numbers again. What about the car behind us? Dalen was referring to the bodyguard car. They're still holding on. We should be able to hold on for a while. As long as we make it off this mountain road, they won't be able to do anything, Spencer said. It was at this moment that the other party discovered that they would be unable to capture the bodyguard car no matter how hard they tried. So they didn't waste any more time, and a car drove over from the side road and directly crashed into Dalen's car. Dalen was the first to see the car. His first reaction was to tighten his arms and hug Lucia, who was in his embrace. With such an impact, the other car was instantly destroyed and even exploded into flames. Although Dalen's car had only suffered minor damage, it would be difficult to continue to drive it at a fast speed. Other than Lucia, who was frightened by the explosion and buried her face in Dalen's arms, the rest of the people in the car saw that the other car had lost control and crashed into the fence on the side of the cliff, and they were following close behind. Spencer immediately grabbed the steering wheel. However, the front of the car slammed into the guardrail, causing splinters of wood to fly all over the place. Dalen growled as he kicked the door open with his long legs. While the car was falling, he threw Lucia up into the air, and Lucia felt herself fly out and then fall onto the hard ground, causing her to cry out in pain. The sound of the collisions resounded from the mountain stream behind her. Lucia turned her head, flabbergasted, and heard the sound of her heart beating as she struggled for her life. There was nothing. The car was gone. Where had it gone? Lucia stood up and walked to the edge of the cliff. She looked down, but could not see anything. There was only white mist. Dalen, where are you? Lucia shouted, and tears began to spill out of her eyes. Dalen, where are you? Lucia yelled again, but no one answered her. When the opponents saw that they had achieved their goal, they all left. The bodyguard's car stopped and the men came over. Young mistress, Mr. Patrick's car fell off the cliff, a bodyguard said. What? Impossible! I don't believe it. I didn't see it fall, Lucia said, tears streaming down her face. The more they descended, the more she felt defeated. Young madam, what are you still standing here for? Look for him, Lucia screamed. They took her in their car and drove to the foot of the mountain. The bodyguards found the location where they estimated the car would have fallen. Lucia's tears never stopped flowing. Her hands and feet were cold. Her entire body was trembling. Gritting her teeth tightly, she was unable to hold on and fell to the ground. Dalen, are you hiding again? Listen to my voice and respond to me. Lucia burst into tears. She hoped that she would see Dalen when she turned around. Or maybe when she wasn't paying attention, Dalen would hug her from behind. Anything. Just come back. Dalen, didn't you say you won't scare me anymore? Are you going back on your word? Come out quickly, Lucia screamed. Found it, a bodyguard called out. Lucia was stunned for a moment before she immediately ran towards the bodyguards in the distance. When she got close, she saw the overturned car. She was so familiar with it, because looking at it was like looking at Dalen. However, she stopped and didn't dare to move forward anymore. As she stared blankly, she even forgot about her tears. The bodyguard moved toward the car to assess the damage. Dalen's car was not an ordinary car, and it wasn't easy to pry it open. Moreover, this was the wilderness, and they couldn't wait for anyone to help them. Time was of the essence. Lucia stood there unmoving, but her heart was burning with anxiety. She knew she couldn't help, but she didn't dare to move forward. In her heart, she silently prayed that Dalen would be okay. As soon as the door was opened, a bodyguard went in. Mr. Patrick! Mr. Patrick! Inside, Dalen was lying on the seat. It was obvious that he was bleeding profusely, but the bodyguard couldn't tell where the wound was located. Dalen's eyebrows scrunched up. His eyes slowly opened and he sat up from his seat. The stabbing pain in Dalen's head made his vision blur. Mr. Patrick, you're injured. The bodyguard helped Dalen out of the car. What about the others? Dalen asked. The driver is dead. Spencer is unconscious and has suffered internal injuries. Dalen raised his eyes and saw Lucia's slim figure standing not far away. Not only did his head hurt again, but his heart ached. Lucia's legs felt like they were filled with lead as she ran forward, tears streaming down her face. She cried as she looked at the amount of blood on his neck. Are you injured? Does it hurt? Dalen hurriedly asked. No injury, but my heart was almost broken into pieces. Dalen, you scared me to death, Lucia said through her sobs. Dalen raised his hand and brushed away the tears under her eyes. He said in a low and hoarse voice, Don't cry. I'm fine. Lucia's voice softened as she asked, Where are you hurt? Let's go to the hospital now. Before she could finish, Dalen strongly embraced her. Lucia's face was pressed against Dalen's collarbone. Her body was almost crushed by Dalen's arm strength. However, she didn't feel uncomfortable at all. The reality of it made her tears fall. Dalen was okay. Quickly, Dalen went to the nearby hospital. Naturally, the facilities were not the best, but he had to go to the hospital to check on the situation and at least stabilize his condition. Spencer was injured more seriously and had internal bleeding. Luckily, he got to the hospital in time. Otherwise, he would have lost his life. What hurt Dalen was his head. After some x-rays, the doctor said, He'll need surgery, but we don't have all the facilities here. We're afraid that it won't be as effective. In order to get better treatment, I want to transfer you to another hospital. Lucia was shocked. Is it serious? Wasn't it just a little bit of blood? His brain is severely injured, so it must be cleaned up, or else he'll most likely die, the doctor said. Lucia looked at Dalen, who was lying on the bed. Apart from his head being covered in blood, he looked like nothing had happened to him. His eyes were still as sharp and cold as ever. Was what the doctor said really true? She walked up to Dalen and said, Don't you have a plane? Send the plane over here. Let's go back to the city right now, okay? All right, Dalen agreed. It would be quick with the plane. After an hour or so, they arrived at the best hospital in the city. After entering the hospital, Dalen had to go through a series of tests, and Lucia accompanied him throughout. She stared at the doctor's actions nervously, as if they would do something to harm Dalen if they weren't careful enough. Lucia, Dalen called for her. Lucia snapped back to reality and asked urgently, What's wrong? Are you uncomfortable? Dalen looked at her. After staring at her for a long time, he felt a sharp pain in his head, and his eyes slowly closed. What? Lucia was stunned. She looked at the doctor and nurse beside her. Looking at Dalen's closed eyes, she asked, "Can you check first? You can just finish the inspection, right?" Robert's family ran all the way to Linda's house when they heard the news. Catherine was the first to rush in, calling out, "Linda, this is bad." Linda, who was fiddling with her necklace with her eyes closed, was startled. Looking at the person who came in, her expression immediately turned ugly. "Why are you making such a ruckus?" "Linda, it's not that I want to shout, it's just that something big has happened," Catherine said, distressed. "What is it?" Linda frowned. "It's Dalen. He's in the hospital," Catherine said sadly. "What did you say?" Linda's heart skipped a beat. "He came by plane. I heard that it's very serious. They're not sure if he'll make it," Catherine said eagerly. Linda's face turned pale, and the beads in her hands fell to the ground. The doctor urged Lucia to wait outside the room. He said that after the examination, he would be able to perform the operation. However, if he couldn't determine what was wrong, he wasn't sure if there would be any side effects. There was no doubt about the medical skills here. However, Lucia was still trembling with fear. While she was waiting, the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard from the other end of the corridor. Lucia turned around and saw Linda, Robert, Catherine, and Victoria rushing over. "Mom," Lucia began, but Linda raised her hand and slapped her. Lucia froze in place, her face slanted to the side. A red mark quickly appeared on Lucia's fair cheek. "Do I allow you to call me that?" Linda asked angrily. "Linda, calm down. Dalen should still be inside resting," Robert advised. If it wasn't for the fact that Dalen was still recovering, she would have torn Lucia apart immediately. If Dalen's condition was not serious, why would he need a plane to bring him back? "You are simply a demon. Do you have to kill my son to be satisfied?" She spat at Lucia's feet. Lucia's eyes were sore as she whispered, "Why would I want to kill him? I'd rather have the person in the operating room be me." "Then why are you standing here safe and sound? Why was Dalen injured? What did you do to him? I told him not to marry you, not to repay the debt of gratitude. Ever since he married you, he's been shot and injured, and now he's in the hospital. Lucia, get lost. Get lost now. I don't want to see you ever again." Linda pointed to the exit. Lucia was shocked for a moment and hurriedly said, "I can't leave. I want to stay by Dalen's side." "This is not a question of what you can and can't do. It is a question of whether or not the Patrick family will allow you to stay in our ranks. Are you going or not?" Catherine, who was standing at the side, couldn't conceal her smile as she shot a glance at Victoria. Victoria didn't show it too clearly, but in her heart she felt a glimmer of hope as she watched Linda exile Lucia. "Please don't make me go," Lucia yelled. "How about this? Let's wait for Dalen to finish the operation, and then I'll leave." Linda couldn't be bothered to look at Lucia's face again. She ordered her bodyguards, "Drag her out for me. Don't let her enter the hospital again. Call for more people if you don't have enough manpower." The bodyguards obeyed and started to pull Lucia away. Lucia panicked, and Dalen's bodyguard was about to come over to intervene, but Linda blocked his path. "What? Do you dare to make a move against me?" Dalen's bodyguard naturally did not know how to interfere in such a household matter. "Mom, let me stay by Dalen's side. I'll leave after the surgery. Please!" Lucia struggled. However, her strength couldn't compete with the bodyguard, so she was dragged out. After Dalen was transferred from the examination room to the ward, Linda went in anxiously. Dalen's head was still wrapped in gauze. "Dalen, how are you?" Dalen closed his eyes. "I'm fine." You call this fine? I just asked the doctor how could you be like this? Dalen. Tears fell from Victoria's eyes as she gazed at him. Dalen looked over and saw Victoria's face. He then looked around. However, he didn't see Lucia. Where's Lucia? She asked. Linda's expression flickered. She went out to buy food. The doctor then walked in. Mr. Patrick, please rest for a while. We'll need to start the other operation soon. Linda asked anxiously, Is it just a minor operation? There won't be any problems, right? The surgeon is the best in his field. However, all surgery on the head is risky, and it is not certain how well you will recover from the surgery, the doctor said. Robert, who was standing to the side, rolled his eyes and didn't say anything. However, it was Dalen who commanded, All of you leave. Dalen? Linda still wanted to speak to him, but when she saw Dalen's cold face with his eyes closed, she stopped talking. Finally, they all left except the doctor. What's going on? Dalen asked. Mr. Patrick, you were able to hold on because you are so strong, but your situation is not too optimistic. The injury is severe, and there are signs of ruptures in the blood vessels. I am afraid of some side effects, the doctor said. Like what? Dalen asked. Mr. Patrick, it's hard for me to say. After the doctor left, Dalen laid on the bed with his eyes closed. He was waiting for Lucia. Not long after, the door opened, but the one who walked in was Victoria. She came to stand close to the bed. Dalen, how do you feel? Tears welled up in Victoria's eyes. It was a pitiful sight. However, Dalen was indifferent. Where's Lucia? He asked. She hasn't come back yet. When she returns, she will come and see you. Even though Victoria hated Lucia to death, she didn't want to show it in front of Dalen. She didn't understand why Dalen was still so preoccupied with Lucia at such a time. Was she even worth his concern? Dalen got off the bed without saying a word and prepared to find Lucia by himself. However, the moment he stood up, he felt a sharp pain in his head. Dalen tightened his face as he tried to withstand the pain. Dalen, what's the matter with you? Don't move, just lie down, Victoria urged. Dalen recovered his strength and looked at Victoria with his black eyes. If Lucia is hurt in any way, I will make you regret it. Victoria threw herself at Dalen without a care and hugged him tightly, asking, Dalen, why do you always have Lucia in your heart? What's so good about her? She hurt you so badly. Not only are you not blaming her, you're thinking about her all the time. I don't understand. Dalen pushed Victoria away forcefully, but his vision went dark and he fell to the ground. Victoria immediately crawled over without caring about the pain in her body and anxiously shouted, Dalen? Dalen? Wake up! Don't scare me! Dalen slightly opened his dark eyes. He couldn't quite get Victoria's face to focus, and then he fainted completely. The unconscious Dalen was rushed into the operation room for surgery. Lucia, who was outside, couldn't enter the hospital no matter how hard she tried. Lucia was so anxious that tears were welling up in her eyes. Her heart felt like it was about to explode. It hurt so much. However, the two bodyguards in front of her refused to let her go inside. Aren't you afraid that Dalen will wake up and get angry at you? Lucia asked, wanting to scare them. However, they said expressionlessly, I'm sorry, young lady, we can't let you in. Even if they were afraid of Dalen, they were Linda's bodyguards, and they were loyal to her. I'm just going in to see if he's been operated on. I won't go near him, so I'll stay far away. Is that okay? Lucia stamped her feet in anxiety as tears streamed down her cheeks. The bodyguard did not change his expression and did not let her in. Lucia tried to calm herself down. The two of them looked smart, and while she had the confidence to take down one, taking down two would be trickier. These were not merely the two hooligans from the village. Just as Lucia was thinking of a way to enter, she saw Victoria walking out. With her gentle appearance and temperament, every step she took made her seem like a lady. However, her eyes were filled with hatred towards Lucia. Lucia wanted to run over, but was stopped by the bodyguard. She called out, asking, "Victoria, how is Dalen? Has the examination been completed? Is he going to have surgery?" "Dalen has entered the operation room," Victoria told her without holding back. "What? He's already in surgery?" Lucia's heart suddenly tightened, and she begged Victoria, "Can you let me in? I want to watch over him." "Watch over him? Are you sure you're not killing him?" Victoria sneered. Lucia looked at her blankly. "I think you know that Linda does not like you, so you intentionally went out to travel alone and made Dalen chase after you. That way you could get him alone." "It's not like that," Lucia argued. Victoria scoffed. "It's one thing for you to trick Dalen, but you caused him serious injuries. If something goes wrong with the operation, who do you think will be to blame?" Lucia pointed at Victoria with a vicious gaze. "Nonsense! There won't be any problems. He is Dalen Patrick. There can't be a problem. Say more and I'll tear you apart." Victoria was so shocked by Lucia's ferocity that she was at a loss for words. "Let me in!" Lucia roared. Victoria steadied herself and mocked. "Why do you think I would let you in?" "Victoria, I know you like Dalen, but can you not be so selfish right now?" Lucia begged. "Selfish? As long as you are gone, Dalen will be safe and sound. Plus, even if you go in, Linda will just chase you out again. No one in the family even likes you. Take this opportunity and think about your future." Victoria turned around and walked into the hospital. "Victoria, don't go! Victoria!" Lucia called out as she walked further and further away, trying to break out of the grip of the bodyguards. Caught off guard, a fist hit the back of Lucia's neck, causing her to groan. Her vision turned black, and her body went limp as she started to fall to the ground. But instead, she fell into Axel, who caught her from behind. Victoria turned around and saw Axel leaving with Lucia in his arms. She knew that Axel liked Lucia, but even so, Victoria was still unhappy. After all, Axel was almost like a brother to her, but she didn't want Lucia pestering Dalen, so she allowed it. Besides, if Linda didn't accept Lucia, would Linda and Robert accept a relationship between Axel and Lucia? Impossible. Victoria sneered and turned around to enter the hospital. She had to guard Dalen. In the car, Lucia sat in the passenger seat, and Axel drove with one hand, holding Lucia's small hand with the other. He stared straight ahead. While he was waiting for the traffic light to turn green, he turned around and looked at the unconscious Lucia. He was completely unprepared for how beautiful she would look, causing him to fall into a daze. Only when the car behind him honked his horn did he realize that the light had changed. Lucia started to wake up, and her neck felt sore. She gave a pained groan. In the next second, she opened her eyes and sat up. Only then did she realize that she was lying on a bed. However, it was a strange room. She looked around. Why did it seem like she had seen this room before? Where was she? Just as she was at a loss, the door opened and Axel entered. Lucia was stunned. Axel? Only now did she understand why the room looked so familiar, because she had been here before, back when she was avoiding Dalen. "You're awake?" Axel passed her a glass of water. "Here, drink some water." Lucia took it. "Did you knock me out?" "I could see that you were extremely agitated, so this is the only way to get you away safely," Axel said. Lucia's expression changed as she thought of something. She put the cup of water on the bedside table, lifted her quilt, and got off the bed. "You're going to the hospital?" Axel asked. I'm going to find Dalen. He's still undergoing surgery, so I want to watch after him, she answered. I think it's better if you wait here, Axel suggested calmly. Why? Lucia asked. The operation room needs absolute silence. Can you imagine the consequences if you go? Axel asked. His words caused Lucia to be stunned on the spot. I know you're worried about him, but I am too. We all are. We need to ensure that the operation can be completed smoothly, Axel continued. Of course. That's what I want too. Then wait here. Listen to me, Axel said. Lucia bit her lips and struggled in emotional agony. My parents are there, and so are Victoria and Linda. You don't need to worry about him being alone. Lucia looked at Axel with tears in her eyes and paced back and forth helplessly. Her mind was in a mess, and she felt as if she were sick. Axel was right. Her presence would only deepen the conflict between her and Linda. There would be no benefit to Dalen's operation. She was well aware of how much Linda hated her. Lucia walked up and helplessly grabbed onto Axel's arm, as if she was holding onto a life-saving log. Axel, can you go to the operation room? And then you tell me the updates as soon as you can. No, that's not right. Nothing will happen to Dalen. I'll just wait for him to finish the operation. But still, can you tell me the news of the outcome? Because your family doesn't like me and aren't willing to tell me about Dalen. Axel looked at the tears that were flowing down Lucia's face. Taking her hand, he pulled her into his embrace and said absent-mindedly, Seeing you like this, crying over him, it's terrible. Lucia was stunned by Axel's words. She didn't think too much about it and was worried about how long the hug was going on. Dalen wouldn't like it. If he were to know of this, he would definitely be infuriated. Therefore, Lucia silently escaped from Axel's embrace and asked, Axel, are you willing to help me? All right, I will go. Wait for my news here. I ordered something for you from the kitchen. Remember to eat. After Axel said that, he left the luxurious apartment. Lucia's heart felt like it was hanging on the edge of a cliff, and she felt as if it could fall down at any time and shatter into pieces. How could she be in the mood to eat? Without news that Dalen was safe and sound, she could not eat at all. Lucia waited alone in the living room, keeping watch on the phone, fidgeting. An hour had passed, but there was still no call from Axel. Lucia could barely hold it in and wanted to call Axel. However, when she picked up the phone, she couldn't remember Axel's cell number. At some point in time, that string of familiar numbers had disappeared from her mind without a trace. Lucia put the phone back and slumped on the floor. She could only wait. Eventually, the sky darkened and night fell outside. Lucia looked out the window at the sky. She bit her lips. Her eyes were sore, and tears were streaming down her face. In her blurry vision, she clearly saw the scene when the car lost control and fell off the cliff, and how she was saved by Dalen. Thinking back to when Dalen saved her, Lucia remembered how everything happened so fast that she didn't even have time to react. By the time she reacted, Dalen had already thrown her to safety. Dalen, you'll be fine, she whispered to herself. As long as you're fine, I won't care about anything else. I'll just obediently stay by your side and not go anywhere else. Just then, the phone rang. Lucia trembled and immediately rushed to answer. Axel, how is Dalen? Was the operation successful? He hasn't come out yet, Axel answered. Seriously? It's been hours. Did you ask the doctor when they'd be done? This is going to work, won't it? Lucia asked eagerly, clutching the phone so tightly that her fingers turned white from the effort. Axel sighed. Operations on the head are always complicated. I'm afraid he won't come out for a few more hours. Lucia's hands were shaking as she held onto the phone. She had to exert all her strength to stop the trembling. She suppressed her shaky voice and asked, Ew, what do you mean? Is it because... Lucia couldn't finish her sentence because she didn't dare to. Don't let your imagination run wild. The doctor said that the operation time is within the normal range, Axel reassured. The doctor said so? Yes. You know I wouldn't lie to you. Then, that's good. I'll just continue to wait, Lucia said. Oh, also, Axel, what's your cell phone number? I don't have my phone with me, and I can't remember your number. There's a business card in the drawer of the coffee table, Axel responded. All right. Have you eaten? Axel asked. I'm not hungry. Lucia, you can't do this. Do you want my brother to wake up and not be healthy enough to see him? He's so nervous about you. He wouldn't want you to be like this, Axel said with a frown. I got it. I'm going to eat now. After Lucia hung up the phone, she went to look for the business card, which she found in the drawer of the coffee table, just like Axel said. When she walked to the kitchen and saw the dinner that Axel had ordered for her, the food had already gotten cold. Lucia thought back to the times when she would have dinner with Dalen. Now that she thought about it, her heart felt warm and painful. Lucia ate a few mouthfuls of food and then left Axel's apartment. She didn't want to stay there. She wanted to be at the hospital. If they wouldn't let her in, she would just stand outside the hospital and wait. Axel's apartment was too far away from the hospital. For her, it was too far away from Dalen. She wanted to be closer. After getting in the taxi, she went straight to the hospital. However, halfway there, Lucia told the driver to stop. Lucia stared at the entrance of the supermarket in a daze. Perhaps now she understood why she liked to steal. Because her mother told her that when she was young, she cried all day long. They took her to the hospital to have a checkup, and her body was healthy, but she just couldn't stop crying. Then, one day, she went to a stranger's house and stole something. After stealing, she stopped crying. After Lucia learned this, she thought that that was the best way to make people feel better. Although her parents were gone now, she still believed it would be effective. Lucia entered the supermarket without any hesitation. The atmosphere inside was still alive with the New Year's celebrations. There was joy everywhere, but Lucia had a different mood and purpose. Lucia lowered her head and pretended to be like the others, walking towards the shelves. She thought that her parents might have died because she didn't steal anything, so this time she had to be very careful, steal something, and leave. Lucia was relieved that she was wearing winter clothes that were very thick, so even if she were to hide something, she wouldn't be discovered. She stole some chocolates and stuffed them into her pocket, keeping an eye on the store employee. She intentionally chose a corner far away from prying eyes. She was about to leave when she thought that stealing a chocolate was too little. So Lucia took more snacks from the other small bags and left in a hurry. Wait a moment. Someone called to her from behind. Lucia's body stiffened as she turned around and looked at the salesperson. He looked at her blankly, and Lucia tried to suppress her heavy breathing. What's wrong? Lucia felt her voice trembling. If she was caught now, then she would have stolen for nothing. She would be captured and taken away by the police. Then, how could she help Dalen? Just as Lucia was thinking about whether she should run, the shop assistant bent over and picked up some money from the ground. He handed it to her. Your money has fallen. Lucia's eyeballs moved slowly, and the blood in her body returned to normal. Reaching out to grab the money, she turned around and left. You're not polite at all. At least say thank you, the employee called after her. But Lucia didn't look back. She ran out and got into a taxi that took her straight to the hospital. After getting out of the car, Lucia thought that maybe Linda's bodyguard had gone in and wasn't standing guard outside anymore. However, just as she entered the door, she saw the bodyguard there. Lucia thought that maybe she could enter through another door, but if Linda were to see her, she would definitely be extremely agitated. And like Axel had said, what if it affected Dalen's operation? The bodyguard saw Lucia and was looking at her with a hostile expression. Lucia turned around silently and stood by the entrance of the hospital. Not long after, something fell in front of her dazed eyes. Then another. Someone's surprised voice sounded in her ears. "Ah, it's snowing again." Lucia raised her face, just in time for a snowflake to fall on her face, blending in with her fair skin. It was snowing again. The flakes grew bigger and bigger, dancing in the darkness until they became a vast expanse of white. It hadn't snowed in the city in years. After the snow, it shouldn't be too big. It was beautiful, but all Lucia could think about was Dalen on the operating table, alone. She wanted to stay with him until he was safely out of the operating room. She didn't even take a step away from the hospital to take cover under an awning. Her cell phone rang, and she saw that it was Cole. Lucia hesitated before answering. Cole's brisk voice sounded as she held her phone to her ear. "Are you back yet?" "Not yet," she said. "That's good. Have fun with Dalen for as long as you can." Cole laughed. Lucia, on the other hand, felt a pinch in her throat. Tears welled up in her eyes and dripped down. "I will." She tried to sound normal. However, Cole still recognized the sadness in her tone. "You don't sound very happy." "I'm a bit tired, that's all," Lucia said. "Is it because you're having fun every night and are feeling weak?" Cole teased. Lucia blinked her eyes, tears flowing down her face once again. "What's the matter with you?" Lucia asked. "Nothing. I just haven't seen you for a long time. Can't I miss you?" Cole asked. "I'll come see you soon. I'm a bit tired, so I want to sleep," Lucia said. "All right, but don't come back too early. The most important thing is for you to be with Dalen. Finally, you two have made up." Lucia felt her mood darken. However, she didn't want to tell Cole what was happening right now. She just needed to wait until Dalen came out of the operation room. After Dalen woke up, he would want to see her, so she could stay by his side without Linda interfering. "Lucia!" Axel's voice came from behind. Lucia turned around. "Why are you here?" he asked. Lucia quickly stepped forward. "Is Dalen out of the operation room?" "Not yet." Lucia's excited heart turned into disappointment. "Since you're here, I'll bring you in," Axel said. "Can I go in?" Lucia asked. "I'll take you in. They won't do anything to you." Axel was about to pull her in. Lucia snapped out of her daze and retracted her hand. "What's wrong?" "I'll wait here." Lucia really wanted to go in, but when she thought of Linda inside, she didn't want to cause any trouble. She could wait here. It was the same anyways. "It's snowing outside. You'll get sick," Axel argued. Lucia looked at the snow falling from the sky and said, "It's fine. I just want to see the snow. Snow represents good fortune, right?" Axel knew the purpose of Lucia's question and said, "Yes, but even if you don't want to go inside, you can't stay out here forever." Lucia thought of something as she looked down and took out her snacks, showing them to him. "Look, I have something to eat, so I'm not hungry. Did you come out to look for me? If you know that I'm here, then do they know as well?" Lucia was referring to Linda and the others. "I didn't know you were here. I was just going to buy something to eat, and they haven't eaten yet. Come with me and eat a little. You won't be able to eat enough snacks," Axel said. "I'm really not hungry. Axel, go buy your food. They must be waiting for you. Dalen's mom has been waiting there all this time, so you should hurry up and buy something," Lucia urged him. Axel was surprised that Lucia was still thinking of Linda's well-being. He couldn't help but ask, "Don't you hate her?" Lucia lowered her gaze and stared at her toes, then said, "Dalen also asked me a similar question, but I know that no matter how much she dislikes me, she's only doing it to protect her son. She's not bad, she's just protective, so I won't be angry." Axel nodded. In the end, it's because she is Dalen's mother. Lucia did not quite understand the meaning behind Axel's words. However, Axel didn't give her time to think any further. He said, "I'll go buy something to eat. I'll bring you a portion, and you have to eat it." With that, he walked out into the snowy night. Lucia was still standing at her original position. She turned around and saw the bodyguards that were watching her every move. In less than half an hour, Axel came back with the food. There was snow on his dark clothes and in his hair. "Let's go to the dining room on the first floor," he urged. "Axel, Lucia began, but Axel continued on. "Standing here is no different from standing in the dining room. When my brother wakes up, you'll need to watch over him," Axel said. This remark was aimed right at Lucia's weak spot. She would do anything for Dalen's good, so she agreed and followed Axel to the dining room. After arriving, there were quite a few people. However, there were still some seats available. The room was high class, but people like the Patrick family wouldn't eat the food here, right? Axel put 2 servings of food on the table and said, "I'll take the rest to my family. I'll be right back to eat with you." Lucia originally wanted to say no, but Axel didn't give her the chance to refuse. Axel returned to the waiting room outside the operating room where his family was gathered. Linda sat with her eyes closed, fiddling with her necklace. She looked as if she had aged several years in an instant. After all, Dalen hadn't come out since he entered the operation room in the afternoon. If it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't enter the operation room, she would have rushed in already. She was extremely anxious, but she could only wait. Robert and Catherine didn't dare to walk around with Victoria. After Axel bought the food, he placed it on the table and urged Linda to eat. "Linda, I got your favorite meal." Linda scoffed. "How could I be in the mood to eat? I can't even drink water right now," Linda said in pain. "Linda, you have to take care of your body. If Dalen found out, he'd be very worried," Robert advised. Linda refused to listen and said, "You guys go ahead and eat. I'm not in the mood." Thinking of something, she turned to Victoria and said, "Victoria, your health is not good, so you shouldn't stay here for much longer." Victoria held Linda's hand as if she was giving her opponent courage. "No, I won't leave. I will wait for Dalen to come out." Linda patted Victoria's hand. With a relieved expression, she said, "I'm sure that Dalen will be moved by your dedication. If only he had married you, none of this would have happened today." "I didn't work hard enough." Victoria's expression was downcast as she said confidently, "Don't worry, Linda. When Dalen wakes up, I will take good care of him." "All right." Linda nodded. "Then could you eat something? If Dalen knew that you didn't take care of your body, he would be angry," Victoria said. "Will he?" What Linda feared the most was not being understood by her son and him resenting her. "Yes, Dalen has always been loyal to you. He hopes that you will always be well," Victoria said. Under Victoria's persuasion, Linda finally nodded. "All right, I'll eat. You have some too." Just as they were about to eat, the door to the operation room opened, and Linda immediately stopped eating and rushed over to the doctor who had just come out, asking him, "How is he? What happened to my son?" The doctor took off the mask on his face. With a tired and smiling face, he said, "Mr. Patrick's operation was very successful." Linda's entire body loosened and she was about to fall to the ground. Robert and the others immediately supported her. Linda caught her breath. "Thank you. Thank you." On the other hand, Robert's expression didn't look too good, and he asked the doctor, "Thanks so much. However, does this mean that there will be side effects?" The doctor said, "We're unsure at this point. We will only find out if there are any side effects after Mr. Patrick wakes up." "What? What side effects?" Victoria asked anxiously. Linda's relaxed expression turned anxious. "Doctor, didn't you say the operation was successful? How could there be side effects?" "The side effects have nothing to do with the success of the operation. Don't worry. The chances of anything serious aren't high, so don't scare yourself. There might not be any side effects at all, but as doctors, we can't guarantee that. Madam, I'm very sorry, the doctor said apologetically. He definitely won't have any side effects, Victoria said with a frown. The doctor smiled and nodded. Mr. Patrick has already been transferred into the recovery room, but do not disturb him for a while. He will not wake up for the time being, and there will be specialized doctors and nurses to watch him. So do not worry. Needless to say, the doctor knew Dalen's important status, so he didn't dare to be negligent. He had already arranged for everything to be perfect beforehand. After Axel left the dining room, Lucia sat alone at the table and stared at the food in a daze. She had no intention of eating it. Axel walked over and sat opposite her. He opened her food container and handed her a fork. Lucia looked at Axel's actions and knew that he meant well, but she really didn't want to eat it. Axel, I'm really not hungry. You really won't eat it? He asked. Lucia's expression turned slightly pale. Axel looked at Lucia's face and revealed a knowing smile. If you don't eat it, then my brother won't be happy when he sees that you've lost weight. He's still in the operating room. He can't see me. Lucia's clear eyes were dark. What if I say that my brother has left the operating room? Axel said calmly as he observed Lucia's expression. Lucia was stunned. What did you say? When I went to deliver the food just now, my brother's operation ended. He has been transferred to the recovery ward, and the doctor said that the operation was very successful. Lucia was stupefied at first before crying tears of joy. Is that true? You aren't lying to me? So can you eat now? Axel asked as he handed the fork to Lucia. Lucia wiped the tears off her face and took the fork from him. Thank you for telling me. Axel looked at her with a smile and said, Eat. Seeing that Lucia was in the mood to eat, the smile on Axel's face wavered a little. He was worried about how much her emotions depended on Dalen. Lucia wanted to eat all the food because she was so happy. She credited it all to how good she was at stealing things. Like she said, how could someone as powerful as Dalen be defeated by a simple surgery? As she was about to put the food into her mouth, Axel grabbed her wrist. Lucia was stunned. Looking at Axel, she asked, What's wrong? No, you're eating too much. Aren't you afraid of your stomach aching? My brother had surgery, so you didn't eat, but now he's out and you're binge eating. Is that healthy? Axel looked at her seriously and asked. Lucia put down her fork embarrassedly. Her stomach was really bloated. It was just that she was so happy and had ignored it. I'm sorry, I always seem to worry you, Lucia said. Then she thought of something and asked, Since Dalen is fine now, when will he wake up? Once he was awake, she would definitely not be stopped by Linda anymore. The doctor said he would not wake up for the time being. Don't worry, though. Since the operation was so successful, he will wake up sooner or later. Yes, indeed. Lucia beamed. Putting aside the helplessness and pain from before, her mood was so much better. She just didn't know if Dalen would be angry if he didn't see her as soon as he opened his eyes. That man was so domineering. Even as she thought this, her heart still felt a little sweet. Eat and go back home to sleep. When he wakes up, you can come to the hospital to see him. Although Lucia didn't want to go, she couldn't get close to Dalen as long as Linda was standing watch. Then shouldn't Dalen's mom go back? Lucia thought that if Linda wasn't here, she could take the opportunity to see Dalen. Axel saw through Lucia's thoughts and said, The doctor told me that before Dalen wakes up, the doctors and nurses will be watching him. We need to avoid entering as much as possible. Since we know that he is fine now, you don't have to be in such a hurry to see him. It's good for him to rest. Lucia laughed dryly. All right, I understand. I will return to the mansion first. Have you heard anything about how Spencer is recovering? Is he awake? Not yet. His injuries are pretty serious, Axel said. But he's going to be okay? Lucia asked. Probably, Axel reassured her. That's good. Lucia didn't ask any further. Spencer was very loyal to Dalen, and this was the duty of bodyguards. Dalen trusted Spencer. Actually, if Spencer wasn't injured, he would probably help her to get closer to Dalen. But now she could only resign herself to her fate and wait in the mansion. Just as Lucia stood up, she felt a sharp pain on her foot and yelped. Axel was stunned. What's wrong? Lucia frowned slightly with a pained expression on her face. It was as if her feet had blistered, but she hadn't felt the pain until now.